Hello everybody and welcome to the Reverend Brandon War channel. Hope y'all doing good. This video's kind of out of the blue for me. I wanted to do what I like to call a post-mortem of this entire controversy that has gone on with the LCMS and their new annotated Large Catechism. Now, for a brief bit of backstory, I'm not going to go into all of the nitty-gritty of the backstory, but there was a controversy that was kicked up mostly on Twitter, but spread to other online areas last week from the publication of this annotated Large Catechism, specifically the essays that are included with this Large Catechism. Now, for anybody that doesn't know the Large Catechism, it is Luther's Large Catechism. It is one of our confessional documents as Lutherans, but the annotated Large Catechism has essays and commentary and things like that, and how to apply the principles of it today. Now, there was some controversy that got started because there are some, let's say, very concerning things in some of the essays of this Large Catechism. Some things that seemed like they promoted critical race theory, some things that seemed like they were saying that self-defense is not condoned in the scriptures or the Lutheran confessions, and also an essay that seems to be denying concupiscence when it comes to sexual sin. Also, there were some questionable choices that were made, like liberal Lutheran theologians that are from other church bodies, that are even some within the LCMS, that are concerning as to why they would be featured in a official publication of the Lutheran Church-Missouri Synod, being that the Lutheran Church-Missouri Synod kind of markets itself as the largest conservative and confessional Lutheran church body. There's also some concerns because of the LCMS having the official policy, as the Bible does, of not having women be pastors or authority-like teachers in the ministry. There was some female teachers and female teachers that were teaching doctrine in a official capacity when it came to this Large Catechism. So there was some concerns that were kicked up, and about a week ago, President Matthew Harrison of the Lutheran Church-Missouri Synod actually posts saying that he is going to take away the distribution for a time to review this annotated Large Catechism and address the concerns that were coming up over its publication. Now, it's been about a week now, and we have what we are going to look at the post-mortem of this, a response and the re-release of said annotated Large Catechism. Now, for clarity's sake and just to be transparent, I am not a part of the Lutheran Church-Missouri Synod. I am actually part of a different confessional conservative Lutheran church body, and I don't speak for my diocese. This is just my reaction to everything that has gone on now that the controversy has effectively ceased, as it seems. What I'm going to do is, because this video is not intended to go through all of the controverted issues, I'm going to link a 3-hour-long, almost 3-hour-long discussion that a few LCMS laymen had with the concerns over this annotated Large Catechism. I'm going to link that in the description below. I suggest you go, and if you want some in-depth discussion on what the concerns actually were and judge for yourself, I would say go to the video in the description down below. I don't agree with everything that the guys say in the video, and of course we have to keep in mind these are laymen and they're just sharing their concerns, so keep that in mind as you watch it. All right, so let's get into the post-mortem in question, the article that was posted. Update from President Harrison on Large Catechism, February 2nd, 2023. Grace and peace in Christ. Last week I requested that Concordia Publishing House, CPH, pause distribution of Luther's Large Catechism with annotations and contemporary applications. I made this request out of an abundance of caution, as an online disturbance was taking place over some brief quotations from the contemporary applications essays in the book. I've had time to reevaluate the controverted sentences and found that while some things might have been expressed more clearly, nevertheless, there's nothing in the content of the volume promoting critical race theory, CRT, confusion of sexual issues, or any theological position at odds with biblical and confessional Lutheranism. Now, we're going to stop our post-mortem right there and give a little reaction. One of the things that you're going to notice if you go to the video that I'm going to link in the description below, even if you don't finish the entire 3 hours, is that one of the things that these LCMS laymen were hammering in their analysis of this controversy was that even if you were to take the sentences, the things that they were concerned about in context, and even if you were to put the best light on it, put the best construction, make a gloss of it, as Luther would say. If you were to do all that, it's still not clear enough. And this particular publication was not being published as some sort of theoretical pastor's intellectual grappling with certain things. This was not published as some sort of a theory proposal or anything like that. It was published, as President Harrison points out in the contemporary applications essays in the book. This is meant to teach the average Christian what the Large Catechism and the applications for contemporary people when it comes to doctrine and practice from the Large Catechism. So you really need to be pretty clear. One of the big things that was concerning, and what people have brought up in their concerns, is that it's not clear. It's not clear at all. And even if you were to take it in context, even if you were to put the best construction on things, you could see how a lot of people would be confused with some of the statements that were made. And again, they highlight this fairly well in the 3-hour-long video if you choose to watch it. The Lutheran Church-Missouri Synod's doctrine is established only by the Scriptures and confessed in the Lutheran Book of Concord, or the Book of Concord, as it were. By God's grace, we remain steadfast in this eternal truth and confession as we await the return of our blessed Savior, Jesus Christ. Frankly, I think each reader will be astounded at the content and quality of this volume. Just as an aside, good salesman sentence, I guess. I've asked CPH to resume distribution according to the bylaws of the Synod. I do not have the authority formally to withhold distribution of a book that has gone through doctrinal review process. Now, again, let's pause. Reaction. There was a lot of people that when these concerns first started coming up, did the doctrinal review process actually go through with this book? Was anybody looking at this book? Did President Harris even read it? According to this, it has gone through the doctrinal review process. And President Harrison just said that even though some of the things could have been more clear, it still got through doctrinal review. And according to Synod bylaws, President Matthew Harrison cannot withhold distribution of a book that has already gone through doctrinal review process. Now, I made a post predicting that this was somewhat of a political posturing situation. I can't read the hearts or the intents of anybody involved in this scenario, but it smelled a little bit fishy to me that we could assume that if it's published by the publishing arm of the LCMS, if CPH has put it out, we can pretty much assume it's gone through doctrinal review. At least that's what should have happened. And in this case, it was gone through the process of doctrinal review and was published, even with certain aspects and certain essays that President Harrison's admitting that are not clear and probably should have been clearer when it came to the doctrine and teaching that the LCMS espouses. The expressions of concerns via the Commission on Doctrinal Review, which is then bound to follow the process outlined in Synod Bylaw 39322, page 143 in the 2019 handbook. So if you got any questions about that, my LCMS friends, you can look that up. Now, this is the part in this post-mortem where it's really the most grievous for me. Not even I'm not including the initial controversy in this, but this next paragraph just really chaps me. It says, "I deplore the unchristian attacks on the servants of the church who edited and contributed to the production of the volume, including the editors are faithful members of the CTCR, CPH, and more. I want everybody, even if you don't watch the entire 3 hours, watch the video in the description below. Again, I don't agree with everything that was said. Not every single sentence. I don't think anybody's going to 100% agree with another person either way, regardless of what the controversy is. But these laymen are putting forward concerns that are legitimate concerns. They are not simply lobbying unchristian attacks or kicking up dust just to be internet edgelords. I think anybody who watches and considers their arguments in all fairness has to come away and say that these guys have legitimate concerns. And being laymen, being, not theologians, not pastors, they actually are making some legitimate points. And one of the main points that they make is that even if you put these things into context, and even if you have some sort of gloss on it, you try to put it in with the best construction you can, it's still not clear. And it's already gotten people confused. And yet, in response to this, President Harrison of the LCMS says that he deplores the unchristian attacks. Watch the video in the description. Comment below on this video. Do you think that the arguments presented are unchristian attacks? I mean, some of the language may be a little bit harsh, and I'm not talking about potty language. I'm talking about, these LCMS laymen are coming out and condemning certain things. Sure, that language may be a little bit biting, but their concerns are legitimate. Why are some LCMS laymen whose concerns are legitimate being condemned for so-called unchristian attacks? Now, maybe this is referring, just to put the best construction on things, maybe this is referring to something that I didn't see on the internet. Maybe it was referring to some random anon or a Twitterite that just got a little bit too carried away in their condemnation of this annotated Large Catechism. I don't know, but from what I've seen and what I've saw online with the concerns swirling up around this, I don't think it was unchristian attacks. I think that the laymen were actually trying to be fair. I think that they were trying to put things in the best light and still coming away with it with it's just, at the very least, it's not clear, and it's shameful that the LCMS would publish something through its publishing arm of Concordia Publishing House that is abysmal in trying to explain and teach Lutheran doctrine. Again, maybe there was something I didn't see, but from what I saw, at least in the initial controversy and the people who were rightly pointing out the concerns and having legitimate concerns, it seems like they were not unchristian attacks. Okay? Now, Here's also the kicker. At the same time, this is President Harrison again, at the same time, we invite thoughtful critique and criticism, which will be given due consideration moving forward. I would ask President Harrison or anybody at CPH or the LCMS, what exactly is thoughtful critique and criticism? Again, I ask all of you, watch the video that I'm linking in the description. Ask yourself, is this thoughtful critique and criticism? Comment below. Tell me, do you think that what was being stated as concerns in that video, was it thoughtful? Was it legitimate critique and criticism? Because I wonder what the standard for thoughtful critique and criticism truly is. If you're going to invite thoughtful critique and criticism, then maybe you shouldn't have called the people who did have a thoughtful critique and thought out criticism of your product. Maybe you shouldn't have said that they were lobbing unchristian attacks. Is thoughtful critique and criticism just critique and criticism that you can accept? Is that it? Because then you're not really accepting critique and criticism at all. I don't know. Again, I can't read hearts and minds of those involved in this controversy, but as a post-mortem, again, I will bring up my particular post here to end out the video. I grieve for those of my friends who are still in the LCMS. I grieve for those who are saddened by this supposed turn of events, even though I did say this is probably likely to happen when the initial post went up. Probably likely to happen, unfortunately. And the last thing in this postmortem I'm going to say is simply that for all of my LCMS friends and all of my viewers that happen to be in that particular church body, we have to come to a sobering realization and realize that you're in fellowship with this kind of chicanery. You're in fellowship with people who do not intend necessarily to speak clearly on certain matters. They certainly are not concerned with the same things you're concerned with as a layman. And I came to the sobering reality a long time ago that being in fellowship with people who despise the Lutheran confessions and want to be more beholding to bylaws rather than faithful Lutheran doctrine was not worth it for me. And I'm not telling anybody what to do or how to proceed. Certainly, since I'm not in the LCMS, I can't tell anybody what they're to do, but I do want everyone watching this to really think about what this means. This is not the first time something like this has happened. It's happened with the Banky situation and Yankee Stadium. You could see things going on. I mean, all the way back to the statement of the 44. This has been an ongoing thing. People more beholding to bylaws rather than faithful Lutheran doctrine and the clear presentation of such. It's a lot of things to think about in this postmortem, and I will leave you simply with an exhortation to search these things out for yourself. Again, watch the video that I've linked in the description below. Comment below and tell me if you thought that is thoughtful critique and criticism, and if they have valid points. Let me know what you think about President Harrison pulling the distribution of this annotated catechism and then reissuing it within a week with this type of statement. Let me know what you guys think. Ultimately, we have to grieve something like this, and we also have to come again to the sobering realization that fellowship does matter. Fellowship and faithfulness matters a whole lot, especially within the Lutheran Church.